that that cancer was caused by the radiation, and I knew that it had killed my brother.
As a child, Claudia Peterson played with her sister in radioactive dust downwind from the Nevada test site. Her sister died of cancer in 1987, and her 6-year-old daughter, Bethany, died of leukemia.
I think it was really hard for people to believe that it was the government, was the testing. They couldn't believe that they would be doing that to us. We were raised patriotic, and for us to believe that our government would intentionally, put us at risk was something that we chose not to really believe, even though the fear was there and the questions. It gets to the point when you have a sick child and you see what these children go through. And, when you have a child that you love more than life itself, and you would do anything, but you know that, it's a result of the testing and what the government did, all in the name of money and power. It's a really bitter pill to swallow.
Writer and naturalist Terry Tempest Williams lives in Salt Lake City, Utah, 300 miles downwind from the Nevada test site.
My father and I were having dinner, and I said to him, Dad, it's the strangest thing. Every time I travel south to the desert, this reoccurring dream I have over and over, I can see this flash of light in the night in the desert. Again and again and again. And he said, you did see it. And I said, so what? And he said, the bomb, the flash. We were driving home from Riverside, California. I was in the service. You were sitting on your mother's lap. She was pregnant. It was a few hours before dawn. Suddenly the whole sky lit up, this pink glow. I thought the oil tanker in front of us had blown up. We pulled over, and suddenly this light ash began raining on the car. I think it was at this moment I realized the deceit I had been living under. Children in the American Southwest drinking contaminated milk from contaminated cows, even the breasts of their mothers. 9 women in my family have all had mastectomies, 7 are dead. Among Mormon people, cancer incidence is very low. And suddenly now, that is our story. That is the story of my people. One by one, I watched the women in my family die. I watched beautiful women become bald. And the price of obedience became too high.
Karul is a small village in Kazakhstan, a Central Asian republic that was once part of the Soviet Union. At the nearby Soviet test site, over 600 nuclear weapons have been exploded in the atmosphere and underground.
I remember hundreds of explosions. On the 22nd of November 1955, they exploded a hydrogen bomb. The shock wave shattered all the doors and windows. People were literally blown out of their homes. One school totally collapsed. Flying pieces of broken glass wounded my wife and the children who were inside the house. Her face was cut, and there was blood all over.
The test site in Kazakhstan is surrounded by villages and collective farms. Over 100,000 people live within 50 miles. Karapek Kuyakov was born on the border of the test site, where both of his parents worked.
I
always wondered why I was born without arms. But my parents told me what they saw at the test site, and then I understood. No one, including my parents, thought that I would survive. But maybe I survived to show the rest of the world the legacy of nuclear testing. I used to have another brother and sister, but they died before they were a year old. Many other families here have suffered from the results of nuclear tests.
Последние годы увеличилось количество больных.
In the last 5 to 10 years here, there has been a major increase in abnormal births. There are children born without some parts of the body, like legs and hands, even without some of the inner organs and parts of the skull.
In growing numbers, children suffering from cancers and deformities are treated in hospitals throughout the region. Physicians attribute most of these ailments to radiation.
You would not be able to find one healthy person in this region. Prior to testing, we were very healthy people. Before, we never ever heard of cancer. Before, people would never imagine that a young person could commit suicide. And now it happens all the time. Young men just hang themselves. They become impotent and see no reason to live.
All right now, James, will you tell them that the United States government now wants to turn this great destructive force into something good for mankind, and that this experiments here at Bikini are the first step in that direction.
The United States returned to the Marshall Islands to test its first hydrogen bombs because of the increased danger of fallout. The 1954 Bravo test was America's largest thermonuclear explosion, 1,000 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb.
3, 2, 1.
The people of Ronglap were badly affected by the Bravo test. The people were not informed that there would be a test.
The meteorologists had predicted a wind condition which should have carried the fallout to the north of the group of small atolls lying to the east of Bikini. The wind failed to follow the predictions, but shifted south of that line, and the little islands of Rongelap, Rongerik, and Uterik were in the edge of the path of the fallout.
When the clouds reached above Ronglap, they saw this snow-like flake falling down on the island. And they were very surprised because they have never seen snow before. The children went out and played in that snow-like material. They did not know that it was poisonous. That night, the people really got sick. They got all kind of sickness. They were vomiting, and at the same time, the hairs starting to fall off from their head. Blister appears on their body, just like they got burned.
Today, a full month after the event, the medical staff on Kwajalein have advised us that they anticipate no illness, barring, of course, diseases which may be hereafter contracted. The 236 natives appear to me to be well and happy.
Thyroid cancer developed, leukemia, brain tumor also appeared. Stomach cancer appeared on the old people. A lot of other illnesses that we have never seen in the past. We believe that all these sickness are related to the nuclear testing. The Atomic Energy Commission people keep telling us these are not caused by the fallout. You are all right. Your island is not contaminated. And we know that they were lying to us.
They were evacuated about 50-odd hours after the test, so they were in the middle of all of this fallout for quite a long time. And then they were taken back to their island and left there afterwards to live on this contaminated place. And they were studied like guinea pigs over the years by the U.S.
Following their exposure to fallout from thermonuclear testing, the Marshallese have suffered from extremely high rates of cancer, leukemia, and birth defects.
After the test Bravo, there were a lot of independent medical and scientific people who began to think that there are very serious problems with atmospheric testing. And this came about because of the sickness of the fishermen on the Lucky Dragon.
The 23-man crew of a Japanese fishing boat, the Lucky Dragon, was caught in the same downpour of radioactive ash that fell on the people of Rongelap. When the ship reached port 3 days later, the entire crew suffered from the symptoms of radiation poisoning. The death of one of the fishermen sparked international outrage and the first campaign to ban nuclear testing.
I think the Bravo test was the beginning